about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact, download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.
Alien Strand Podcast.
Heard it all, everything. Oh, they must have been on LSD, and people have said, I don't believe a word you say, you're nuts, you're crazy, you belong in a straitjacket. And I say, well, it's part of my life, I can't deny it. And one of the things that's really weird is that you find yourself getting used to the idea that you've been abducted, and that's weird in itself.
I am a hybrid, or rather a hybrid, and today I'm going to talk about how the universe and ETs are connected to humans and why.
Alien Strand Podcast.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Beavers from The Theory, and you are listening to Alien Strand Podcast, the dopest UFO alien podcast out there. And if you want to find out about me, just go on YouTube and search UFOs over U of O or The Theory with Mike Beavers. Stay tuned, guys.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Don Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Yeah, it's going to be a good one today. You know, there's been a lot of crazy UFO activity out there. It's, man, every time I look at my Facebook account or any other accounts out there, I just see these phenomenal videos out there. I swear, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. But before we get into it, welcome to Alien Strand Podcast. And if you're new to ufology, welcome to ufology, which means UFOs, extraterrestrials, strange phenomena. We also do paranormal and the unknown, Bigfoot as well. Hey, that's my favorite character. I love that guy. You know, not a character. You know why? Because there's a lot of video out there. Seen him for real, man. They've seen him out there for real. And I really don't want to come across that guy anytime soon. I would like to get a nice video, maybe of him maybe throwing a wave at me from a distance, a good distance. Gives me enough time to run and get away, right? Yeah, something that huge, I will not, I'm a scaredy cat on that one. But anyway, you know, you can always catch us, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You can even ask Alexa, she'll play you some Alien Strand Podcast, you know, because we have a lot of content out there. Not just the video content that we throw out every once in a while now on our live sessions. Today is live, but we are live on audio on Spreaker only. We're trying to milk this as long as we can on the live. I wish Spreaker wouldn't shut off the live part of it. I really like to do this because it's like a live radio show. I dig it. I love to do this. And, you know, I know if you guys are driving out there, be careful on the road while you're listening to this program. Truck drivers, thank you to everybody out there that's in the blue collar industry that gets everything going, gets our food to the supermarket, gets our clothing out there. Hey, thank you guys. Anyway, be safe. Pull over when it's safe to do so. If you see a UFO, anything strange up in the sky, day, night, pull over when it's safe to do so. Get a nice video or photo outside of your vehicle. All right, that's how we do it around here. All right, so like I said, if you're new to Alien Strand Disclosure, Alien Strand, well, we have Alien Strand Disclosure Project. I almost fumbled that. Did you hear that? So we have Alien Strand Disclosure Project. It's a private page there on Facebook. Okay, so you know how there's groups out there? Well, there's Alien Strand Disclosure Project. This is for people that are interested in ufology, right? And if you saw something weird, you got it on your phone, you just don't know how to analyze it, you post it on there. As long as it's UFO related, extraterrestrial related, it could be ghost related, paranormal, whatever. Post your photos on there. We'll analyze it for you, and we'll show you how to do it as well. All right. So that's what Alien Strand Disclosure Project is about. If you want to be a part of that, go to the group site and, answer all the questions, please. If you don't answer all of them, you will be kicked out. It won't let you go any further. You're going to have to do it all over again. Answer every single question on there, and we'll get you in with everybody that's on board. You know, we all work together as one. There's no I in team. We all work together. Now, if you haven't caught the middle films, we already have 1, 2, and 3 out on Amazon Prime. Go check those out. Please give me a thumbs up at the end of those films. And that means it'll get out to other people, and just so that way the disclosure will be set out for other folks who are actually going through this process and don't understand what it is. A lot of these films let you understand what you're seeing up in the skies, in the darkness, or anything that happens to you that you just don't realize that's happening to you, right? Of course, these extraterrestrials, they can actually abduct you in your sleep or contact you while you're in a subconscious sort of state, right? And I've talked about this many times before, but and that's just means that when you're asleep, you're in that subconscious realm, your body's you're motionless, and almost like you're gonna travel like an astral projection, right? Because you're so relaxed, right, in your deep sleep, that your subconscious does travel, right? And I just think of it, I think of it this way. It's like you're coming out of your body a little bit, and these extraterrestrials are able to contact you in that certain way. Now, as well as the spiritual part of it, which is demonology, people from the other side. You notice when you're dreaming of people that have passed away, things like that, you talk to them, you're having a nice conversation with them. I believe that you're able to do that. It's not just some things that are just coming to your mind and of course, we all have those weird kind of Pink Floyd sort of dreams every once in a while. There's a lot of people that I know that don't dream, right, as well. But after coming in contact with a lot of these extraterrestrials, the craft, or just noticing that these extraterrestrial craft are coming closer and closer, they actually start dreaming, right? They start dreaming again. And it's like their consciousness just woke up, right? And this is what this podcast is about. Awakening UFOs, right? Because this is exactly what's happening to people after they see a UFO. And that's what these films, the middle, is about. Is after witnessing this event, something occurs to the human body, right? Almost like like I just talked about, like an astral projection, but a projection of some sort of a frequency that actually, it's like you're the antenna and you're receiving that signal. But that signal is only made for you, not for anybody else, right? And that's what these extraterrestrials and these UFOs do. Because when you do see a UFO up in the sky, hey, there's a pilot in this thing, right? There's always going to be something inside of this that we just don't get to see. And some of us do. Okay, some of us are fortunate enough to see these things and get to take a ride on that craft, right? And sometimes unwillingly. A lot of times really unwillingly, but there's very few and far between stories of extraterrestrials saying, hey, do you want to come on board? Do you want to take a ride? There's far and few in between stories of that. And that's usually in the 1940s, 50s, 60s. Now you just don't hear too much about that, even though we have a lot of people now with phones and video cameras everywhere. You'd figured we'd catch a lot more of this phenomena and activity as a live thing, right? You know, how like we have live Facebook Live, or you record something in real time, right? So you figure a lot of this would probably happening. But unfortunately, as we all know from the stories, even from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that's where it actually popped out from, that these UFO, extraterrestrial craft, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, they have this electronic magnetic field that disrupts, almost like an EMP, electronic magnetic pulse. Let's just say it kind of throws a pulse below and knocks out everything, like your battery, your cell phones. Usually batteries drain quickly. If you're videotaping one up close, your battery will pretty much drain pretty quick on your cell phone or on your video camera. Do people still have video cameras? Yes, they do. They actually make some pretty nice ones. Sony, JVC still makes these little handhelds, which work beautifully. They're like full of 4Ks. They're actually pretty simple to operate, like they did back in the day, and they get really nice footage. But the downside is that you will encounter a battery drainage during an actual event or encounter, okay? So even if you're doing a CE5 as well, which means a group CE5 trying to make contact, this will actually happen to your batteries on your cameras, okay? So if you're doing something like this, take multiple cameras, take multiple batteries with you while you're actually doing a CE5, because if you actually witness a craft or something that comes close to you, this is what happens. This is why a lot of people are like, we only see like 22 seconds of this video. Well, it's because of that. A lot of times their phones die. There's times where, fortunately, you will get at least a 2-minute video. I've posted many of those for the people that are like, well, you never get to see it. Well, and then you do see a long video, and then they're still kind of frown about it. Well, that's not real. That's CGI. If it's that long, it's always going to be something, right? So, like I've said before, who's going to believe you, even if one's landed right in front of you? Take a picture hugging the thing. Are they going to believe you, or are they going to say it's AI? Hey, and that is a big question, right? But how is it that we make contact, right? And of course, I have my book, CE5 Frequencies of Contact. You'll see it out there. I actually dropped the price on that book, something like $2.99. You can actually download it to your tablet or your phone, take a read on it. Kind of shows you how to do a CE5, right? And with the frequencies and keeping yourself in a calm position, right? To where, you can actually make contact with these things. Now, if you've done a CE5 and made contact, well, the chances are 9 out of 10, you're going to start getting contacted from now on for the rest of your life. Okay. That's just the way it is. I've noticed this with everybody that has contacted me about their actual contact or their encounter, that it doesn't stop. Okay. It might subside a little bit, but it never goes away. So if you decide to open Pandora's box and go into CE5 and start doing it, well, just remember there's going to be a little consequence behind that as well. Okay. Some are going to be good. Some are not. A lot are not. Okay. That's just the way it is. But are we making contact as soon as we do the CE5 group session, or however you do it, even alone? Are you awakening these extraterrestrial craft in the sky to where now you can visualize and now you can see these things, right? Because if you remember, if you've read back through Billy Meyer's encounters of his UFOs, a lot of people just said they just couldn't believe what they were seeing. But I've said this over and over, that these Palladians or Polarians, what he called them, they only allowed him to see these crafts. Only him and his camera. When he said, okay, he got this neighbor because his neighbor didn't believe him. And he says, okay, at this time, these things are going to come. I'm going to have my film running, my 35 millimeter camera running the film. And after it's done, I'm going to go to you and you tell me if you've seen these things at this time. So he lives in Switzerland, and lo and behold, he gets the whole video, everything of this craft that's doing these incredible little maneuvers over a tree. goes down there after it was all said and done and over and they left. He goes and talks to his neighbor. Did you see this craft? They're saying, no, we didn't see anything. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is these extraterrestrials that contacted him were actually telling him, we only allow you to see these, us, which is the craft, which is the actual individual that's flying these crafts. And luckily for him, these were human looking ones, the beautiful looking ones, right? So he was fortunate enough to be able to get contact with these people and have many adventures, let's just put it to you that way, with these extraterrestrials that were out there, because they weren't from this planet, so they're extraterrestrial. Okay, they weren't terrestrial, they were extraterrestrial, outside of our atmosphere. So how are we making contact? How are we able to awaken this part of our brains or these frequencies that allow us to see these things, and only us see these things, right? And I'm not saying this is going to happen 90% of the time. I'm just telling you that this does happen to people. You can have somebody standing next to you and they'll see it too. There'll be a situation to where somebody will see the same thing you're seeing, but then there'll be a situation where they're not seeing what you're seeing. Okay? And kind of like in the movie The Middle Two, if you notice, there was a scene in there. If you haven't seen it, there's going to be a scene in there where the person that was making contact, his name is Ryan Keaton in San Antonio, Texas. He was actually able to see something in the sky, and I was looking right at it too, and I was like, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. And if you notice in the video, the camera's pointing all different kinds of directions trying to catch it. I didn't see it, and he was snapping photos left and right. He could see it. So in the movie, in the film, the documentary, you see me pan the camera down to his phone, and he's catching this triangular shaped craft. But then it didn't make itself visually known to us until an hour later, once the sun set. And then we started seeing this thing. We saw two of them, right? They started communicating with us. It's in the video. Okay. So this is the part I'm talking about, the actual awakening of this extraterrestrial craft that's up there, that's making contact only with you, right? And it's amazing how this UFO or UAP can actually do this. It's almost like it's able to control everything around it, right? And everything around you, in a sense, right? In other words, what can make you visually see something that somebody can't? And when you actually think about it, just for a minute, you have these people that can control other people's minds, in a sense, to these doctors, right? They put you in these trances, right? They make you think something you're not. They make you see something that's not there, right? So they're doing these sessions with people, and that's happening to. How is it that they're able to manipulate the mind in order to think that there's something there, right? So this is what these extraterrestrial craft or the pilot is actually doing to people as well, okay? It's manipulating your mind to only you can see. But is it the truth, though? Is it what you're seeing in that sky is real? So they're able to do this in real time without talking to you or putting a pendulum in front of you and waving it around and around until you fall asleep. No, this is in real time, right? So you kind of think about it that way. There is no explanation to how these things can do that, right? So remember, I've talked about before how when I talked about Enoch and the way it was and the time before everything, the time before time, right? So we have our two things as human beings, as far as religion. We have God, the devil, and that's it, right? But I always thought about it. It was God, the devil, and these things, because they seem to mimic that sort of entity in a sense, right? But these are physical entities. And we're not seeing them as entities that are paranormal to where you can walk through them or they walk through you. They're an actual physical entity that can touch you, move you, and do experiments on you, okay? Ghosts don't do that. Paranormal doesn't do that. So these extraterrestrials are a human life. They are not human, but they are a life form, right? An actual breathing life form. And they're able to manipulate your mind at times to see something that's not there, or see something that's there and allow somebody else not to see it, right? And this is what I was talking about before, the awakening. Do they awakening your pineal gland to see these things, right? Are they able to tap into that part of your brain? Remember, your brain has little electrons all over the place. It's firing up like a 12-cylinder freaking engine, right? Constantly firing up electrons in your brain when you're alive. So why do this to some and not to others? Well, maybe it's because they've picked you already, or they figured you're a good candidate of what they're looking for. Because you think about it this way. If we go to Mars or we go to a different planet, what's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to send a probe over there, right? This is what they do. Now, if we send a human probe or a human ship out to Mars, and let's just say there's little guys walking around, do you think we're going to get out and start having a conversation and shaking their hands right away? No. We're going to study these things first. And this is why if you kind of think about the movie Alien, that the new one that just came out too, but just the whole storyline. How in the beginning, the first movie, they wanted to kill off this alien, right? And they didn't want nothing to do with it. But one did. They wanted a sample. They wanted to sample this thing. They wanted to figure out what it was, where it came from, and why, right? So this is the thing that they're doing to us and we're doing to them. In that sense, if we were to go to another planet, let's just say, we're not going to sit there and have a conversation right away. We're going to study them first. That was the whole implication of the movie, The Alien, right? Alien. And because there's a lot of the truth is in that. So the awakening issue is the part of there's more people now that are starting to see these things, okay? And this is what I'm talking about. Awakening of UFOs, because we're having a mass population of people from all over the world are having a great awakening. So are these things telling us, hey, now we're letting you see us? Because we've been watching you this whole time, right? And we'll only interact with a certain amount of you. Not everyone. Not everyone will accept the fact of something else other than human beings are walking this earth, right? Above or below ground. We see them going through volcanoes all the time, through tunnels. These things are always going underground. We've seen them go close to the sun. We've seen them go through the sun. There's a lot of ufologists out there that actually study these things 24/7. They have a telescope pointing at the sun, constantly monitoring, constantly taking videos of the moon and watching these things go in and out of our atmosphere and in and out of the moon and in and out of the sun, right? So they still hide amongst all of that because I think they're just waiting for their grand entrance, really, in reality. And it's coming. It might come in our lifetime. It might. So now we're all starting to see the great awakening moment of many of us that are starting to notice these extraterrestrials up in the sky, in our forests, walking amongst us, and everywhere in between, right? So what makes that happen? Well, they are allowing that to happen. I'm talking they, extraterrestrials. Big Brother, Big Daddy have nothing to do with this anymore. They've already said they don't even know what the hell it is anymore, right? Because I have a feeling that they're just saying this because it's beyond their control already, right? They can't control the issue. They can't control the people that are starting to have this mass awakening moment. Conspiracy theorists are always out there saying, well, maybe it's Big Brother doing it. They want us to go to this. They're going to simulate this thing, right? I don't know about that. Really, in reality, it wouldn't really be in their best interest to do that. I mean, it'll put people in a mass panic mode because it's bad enough. People are just losing their freaking minds already. Now, that's going to make it even worse, right? So, no, I don't think that conspiracy part of that is going to happen. Because that means they'll lose control of the people, right? They don't want that. Once you lose control of the people, you lose control of everything. So, I believe this is going to stay the way it is as far as these extraterrestrials, UFOs, the sightings, as we're starting to see them more and more around many of us out there that are reporting this every day through MUFON, through Alien Strand Disclosure Project, through all these other avenues of data collecting, right? Because this is why we do it, for the data. We want to know exactly what, when, why, and where, right? Very important. And there are people out there that actually go through very traumatic encounters to where they just don't understand exactly what's happening at the moment. And every time I say it, it reminds me of that little character on that cartoon. I can't even remember the name of it, but the zebra, the hippo, and giraffe. That little character is, what's happening? Well, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I see people when these things are happening this way, right? And when people make an actual encounter, when they have an encounter with an extraterrestrial, extraterrestrial, maybe interdimensional being as well, there's a moment, a factor moment in your mind to where it's like, what am I looking at? This thing is not human. What is this thing that I'm seeing, right? And you just can't get it out of your mind after that. You know, have you ever had like a really cool memory, a good memory maybe, and you just, or something that's happened in your mind, in your life as a child that you'll never forget? I'm not going to say extraterrestrial, but it was just an encounter that you had, or just something that was awesome that you'll never forget as a child, right? Some people have those, and they keep that memory with them. Well, exactly the same thing happens when you're having this moment with seeing something that you don't understand what it is. It was a shocking moment for you, right? Which is standing in front of an extraterrestrial. Does this happen? Yes, it's been happening to people over and over and over, right? And there's this group up in Scotland, called UFO Scotland Group, right? And I saw this story come out, and I'm like, wow, that was amazing. So I'm going to read it to you. Right? It's not very long, but just it's going to point out what I was talking about. So there's this woman. Her name is Ann Calder. This is her story. It says the year was 1978, and we all lived in a place called Sutalisa, which is a very small group of prefabricated homes or new homes in that area, right? On that day, the encounter happened there with myself, my sister Jill, my friends, and Pamela Orr, and one other kid from the neighborhood. We were all about the age between 8 and 10 years old. It says we were all walking my dog Tanya down the old railway track that sat at the bottom of a Sunfield Park. What started as a normal day very quickly became the most terrifying, traumatic day of our lives. We were walking around the old track when suddenly Tanya started going crazy, which is the dog barking. She said she was a really placid dog to where she didn't really bother anybody, very quiet dog. But that day she was going nuts, and they couldn't believe the reaction that was coming out of the dog. She says, I clearly remember we looked up at a tree and seen a sight none of us could ever unsee. She says there was a being with the very bright yellow glowing eyes looking back at us. I remember being frozen in fear in what we were seeing. Then it spoke in what can only describe as a synthesized vibrating voice. She says, I don't remember its mouth moving, but we all heard it clearly. And it said, don't be afraid. I will not harm you. My next memory was of all of us standing in the field up and away from the old track. Even as a young innocent kid, we somehow instinctively knew never to speak of what we had witnessed, and never did until recently. As I reached out, a couple of the girls I hadn't seen since childhood, I simply asked, do you remember what appeared in that old railway track? The replies were instant, and they said, yes, I'll never forget those eyes. A couple of years later after the encounter, because I personally started having night terrors. Always the exact terror where I'm in a room with no doors, no windows, and I'm screaming out for help because I can't get out. I still to this day sometimes have the same night terror. I'm not saying I was abducted that day, but I have no recollection of how we ended up in the 2 fields away after hearing what we said. Maybe it's our brains trying to process what happened. I doubt I will ever know, but I can tell you sincerely, that being we witnessed that day was not human or animal. It was most definitely not from this world. Real fear never fades from our memory, and the truth of what happened that day still is in our minds forever. She says, I'm 54 now. And my biggest question is, why did it choose us to see it or hear it? And that is what I was telling you guys. What she says at the very end of that quote, why did it choose us to hear it and see it? Then they lose a memory after that encounter where they were in a field now. As strange as that sounds, I believe them. I believe everything that she encountered because the detail is to the T of her encounter. And she still talks about it. She was able to put it in this group in Scotland, right? This is where it happened. And they never told a soul after that, right? After that day, until they saw each other again and reminded each other of what had happened. And they all agreed that this happened. And this is the awakening. I have a lot of questions to that still, myself, personally. I would like to know if they... I know she continued on having night terror dreams, but did she see any kind of extraterrestrial craft in the sky later in life? Or many other encounters? Did they all start witnessing things that they had never seen before after that, right? That have changed their lives in a sense to where it changes the life only for you. Because you don't mention this to anyone, even if you're seeing these things. And this is what the middle part 1, the middle part 2, the middle part 3, and the last middle, which I'm working on now, is going to give you these exact stories of the people that have witnessed these things and have had encounters and are still having encounters, but don't speak of it, right? It changed a certain part of their lives to where it affected them. And even some not even able to move forward because of it. It's bothersome, in other words. And that, my friends, can overtake you at times. This is why people take breaks from researching for years and years and years, because it can overtake you. It can overwhelm you, right? And I do take a break from Alien Strand every once in a while because I get overwhelmed by calls and people every day. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love everybody that comes to me and tells me their stories, but the processing of it will overtake me, right? At times, to where I have to put it down for a bit. Because your mind, just like she said in her story, something that their mind could not process. Because this is how shocking it was to them, right? Well, my mind has to process a lot of these stories and a lot of the videos and a lot of photos that people show me every day. And don't be upset with me sometimes if I don't answer you back right away. But that's just me putting it down for a bit. But I do want to hear your stories, and I do want to hear what's happening to you, and I do want to help you. And so does everybody from Alien Strand Disclosure Project. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. We're not here to ask for donations. We're not here to ask for money. We're not here for none of that. We're here to help you, right? And help you process this information that is happening to you as you awaken. Because many of us are having this awakening moment, and many of us have had this awakening moment for many, many years already, right? But don't talk about it. But for you out there that are trying to understand what you're seeing in the sky or hearing or the things that are your mind is trying to process, this podcast is for you, because I'm explaining it to you. I'm showing you how to figure this out because of the research that I've done and the people have done with Alien Strand Disclosure Project. We understand. We don't turn anybody away. Because of that, it's not easy. It's not easy understanding what you're seeing or what your mind is trying to configure. And if these extraterrestrials are making contact with you in a sort of interdimensional kind of way, that's fine. And you can keep that distance from it and keep that interdimensional contact there. Once they start making physical contact, it's when the things get bad at times for some folks. I mean, we had a contactee, her name's Jessica, that we just had on the podcast here about a couple of months ago. She still contacts me, sends me pictures of these marks that are happening all over her body, on her arms or the back of the arm or the thigh, or just a triangular kind of shape bruising, and still trying to understand if this is paranormal or extraterrestrial, right? As a lot of people out there send me a lot of their photos and videos as well. And that's good to record them, record the times, the dates, and exactly what happened to you. Write it down on a log if you have to. Use your phone as a log. Now our smartphones have everything where you can log it, put the picture in it or the video in it, and you have it there, right? So like I said before, this is the awakening moments of the human existence and the human frequencies to all, right? To where we are connected, mathematically connected with everything around us, even the ground, the earth, the sky. Our bodies are grounded to the earth. So the natives, like I said before, had it right. Ground yourself. Walk outside barefooted. 10, 15 minutes in the grass. Watch out for the ants and snakes, but where it's safe to do so, enjoy it. Now that this cool weather is coming in, go outside and ground yourself for about 10, 15 minutes. It'll help your body. It'll help you make a better connection if you want to do CE5s. It helps you be more in control. And that's the best advice I can give to anybody that is interested in making contact or that just wants to help themselves and help their minds grow a little bit better and let their awakening moments grow into something bigger. Because all you can do is learn more and more and more and gain more information. Our brains is like a big cloud in the sky, like the cloud, like your iCloud, right? We retain a lot of information that we read daily, and these are memories that we'll never forget, because you're actually, once you start reading a lot of these awakening sort of books or UFOs or just stories of able to connect with the human body, with Mother Earth and everything around you, right? It kind of seems a little, at first when I was first introduced into that, I didn't really look at it that way, but after I started getting into ufology more and more and more, now I see the connection with the frequencies and the existence of everything and how we're all connected mathematically with the earth, with the sky, with these extraterrestrials, where they're able to home down on you personally and connect with you at that awakening moment. As strange as it sounds, and as weird as it is, believe you and me, this is exactly what's happening to many of us out there. And if it's happening to you, there's a way to embrace it and there's a way to control it. to where you are in total control of everything, because really in reality, that's just the way it is. That's life, man. You control your life. You control how you go forward, or you control how you go backwards. Stay positive. Stay around positive people. Keep yourself nice and healthy, mind and soul, right? Because that's what it's about when you're making these, as crazy as it seems, contact with these extraterrestrial craft or extraterrestrial beings. And I hope that I at least was able to do my job here and to explain a few things so that way you can understand, all right? And like I said, as difficult as it sounds, and as crazy as it sounds, because they say, you guys are crazy, man. Got those tinfoil hats. And yeah, no, we're not crazy. We're seeing these things. We're experiencing these things. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're a nut, because you're not. Not with Alien Strand. All right, guys. That is my show for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. It was my absolute pleasure of giving you this awesome information on awakening UFOs. If you like this podcast, give me a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Share it with everybody out there. Add it to your favorites. Go look for Alien Strand Podcast. Look for our films, The Middle, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and upcoming Part 4. Nice series of documentaries that are out there already on Amazon Prime Video. Go check them out. After this podcast, look at this link that's at the bottom of this podcast, the description, and it says all my links. Click that. That'll take you to everything Alien Strand, extraterrestrial, our films, our books, everything's on there, all right? I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast as much as I did. Send me an email if you want to be on the show, and I'll be glad to get you on, all right? So until then, till next time, we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget, Alien Strand Podcast. Catch you on the next audio. Be looking out on our Facebook page, YouTube, Rumble page. We got pages all over the place, man. But until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.